Welcome back to Burning River Bushcraft. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Vargo Titanium Hexagon Wood Stove. Now I am a huge fan of any type of stoves that use multiple fuels. So this is going to be a biofuel stove. So essentially it's a twig stove. You can use other options with this, and I'm going to show you here in a minute. But its primary advantage to me is I do not have to bring fuel with me, or if I'm on an extended trip, or if I'm just out here making lunch for myself, I don't have to carry fuel. I don't have the expense of fuel. Look how small this thing is. This is ridiculously small. Now I am not an ultralight backpacker. I'm not a gram counter. For me, size is more important than weight. Most of the time I have size restrictions because I like to fly in on trips, and a lot of times I just have carry-on stuff. That, or I'm more confined to a specific size canoe barrel or the hatches in a kayak. So the weight's not going to be my main thing that's going to determine what gear I choose, but versatility and overall size is. Let me throw this on a scale and I'll tell you how many grams this is. If this is the kind of thing you like, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment in the comment box, and ring the bell to be notified of my latest videos. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Burning River Bushcraft. I also teach outdoor classes at Outdoorcore.com. So here's the Vargo Hexagon Wood Stove. So it's 117 grams, 118 grams. So because I'm not an ultralight guy, that doesn't help me. Hopefully it helps you to determine how actual light this thing is. For me, you just barely can feel that it's in your hand. So I've got a couple tabs along the perimeter of this, and this flat part is going to be the actual base. And then this kind of opens up. And clips into place. So this last tab, it's got a double side to it, so when you push it on, it kind of goes on under a little bit of tension. And then that gives you a door on the front of it. So this door is where you can feed sticks in. You can preload this. So this does have feet, so it sits up off the ground a little bit. So if you just set this directly on the ground, it's going to be able to draw air and draft from the bottom and help the burn. But because we've got these holes here, if you put this directly on a picnic table or directly on something that can burn or dry grass, it's going to cause you some problems. You are going to have ash and you're going to have embers dropping through here. So I'm a huge fan of not buying fuel and just picking up sticks off the ground to boil water for coffee or for my dinner. And there are times as well that it's just a pain. Sometimes if I get up late and I just want coffee and I want to hit the trail, I don't want to have to go around picking up sticks. I don't want to have to build a fire. This does require some fire skills. So if you're carrying this as light as it is, I would still carry some type of fire starter just to help you out. But what this does is there's actually an alcohol stove that goes in conjunction with this. So this bag is also from Vargo, and this is the converter stove. So I'm going to do a separate review on this because this is a standalone stove and cook system by itself. But what I have is I can add alcohol into here, and this is going to be a standard alcohol size stove. I can flip this upside down, and that's going to be a tab, so that'll run off fuel tabs. Now I've got legs in here. So the legs are going to clip in if I'm using it by itself, but it's got a couple different positions. If I'm setting up this way, that's going to be to support a pot. But if I'm going to be using this with the Hexagon Wood Stove, I'm going to set it up this way. When I flip the legs on that converter stove, it sits just below the top of the Hexagon wood burner. And then I've got this open to light, and if I need to, I can really close it down. But this turns your wood burning hex stove into just a windbreak. And if you've ever used alcohol stoves in the past, you know that convection is just killing those things. The slightest bit of wind is going to really cause you problems. So when you choose to not burn wood, if you want the convenience of alcohol or using fuel tabs, the converter stove works hand in hand with the Hexagon Wood Stove. So I'm loving the door on this. The door is lower than the pot stand, so I can open it and close it. That's pretty darn good engineering. But I can also kind of draft with it, so every time I open that door, I see the fire just gets a little bit bigger. So when I start to get low on it, I can control this a little bit with the draft. Now I'm reviewing a Right on Trek meal with this water. So when this water boils, that's what I'm going to use it for. And with that style meal, you don't just boil it and dump it in, you've got to simmer it. And that is something most of the traditional just camp stoves don't do that well. They boil water, you know, those little canister stoves, they boil great, but they don't simmer that well. Now, I can control how much fuel I'm putting in here, and you can see when I open and close that door, it kind of acts like a damper. So I can control the temperature probably a little bit better with this wood than I could with most any camp stove. So I've got a good boil already, and I don't know how long it was, but that was not long at all. I don't like to do timed boils, one stove against the other, just because there's so darn many variables. I'm doing other things. The temperature's different, the water's different, the fuel's different. So let's just say that's a really fast boil and call it that. So the water boiled real fast, and then I added my lunch, and then I had to lower the heat and stir it for about 5 minutes. And right now, I haven't added any fuel in a while, and we can see I've kind of got coals in here. And I was adding sticks probably up to thumb size, you know, small pieces, maybe 3 inches long. And this was all just junk that I picked up off the ground. So this was scrap pieces from right around the shop. This is what those canister stoves don't do all that well. Most of them boil really fast, but they're hard to control. And with this, I had high flames, and I just kind of lifted my pot off and let it die down a little bit and put it on. But so far so good. I'm loving the controllability with this. And if I had a larger pot with a lot more liquid to boil, I might have had to add more wood, but this was essentially just what it would hold. I started small and just kind of added pieces because I wasn't that familiar with the stove yet. But I'm loving it so far. So the Hexagon Wood Stove has performed exactly like we expected it to. It boiled great. And if you look underneath the rock here, I'm going to slide this a little bit to the side. Once we slide that stove out of the way here, the rock is warm where it was sitting, and I've got some ash, but that's not bad. So the Vargo Hexagon Wood Stove is impressive. It is light, it is thin, and just a few sticks off the ground and I was able to boil water. Now you try building a fire out of the same size sticks that I used and see how well that works for you to boil water. Now the size of this, we used a bigger pot just because that was required for my lunch. But if you use one of these smaller cups, that's going to fit on here just as well. So it's not too small where you can't support a larger 1 gallon pot, and it's not too big where you can't put a nesting cup on top of it. I got nothing bad to say about it. It's an outstanding product. Definitely check it out. Till next time, this has been Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you soon.